Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to the worst reviews ever. Today I got KC Fred and got Amazing in here. Everybody else is catching the flu or still getting caught up with the holidays and stuff. So they'll be back, shortly. But we're gonna keep everything going. But before we jump into the topics, man, how was your holidays? You was over
Good,
there eating everything, Fred?
real good, man. Smoked turkey, you gotta love it. You
How
got
many
to
how many
love
plates did you have?
I don't remember after two. I really don't.
So you lost track.
You know what I'm saying?
But you
So
said you had the smoked turkey, right?
hey, had to have the smoked turkey, man. And then of course my favorite pie is sweet potato pie, so got to have that too. So yeah.
Yeah, I wanted
So
some peach cobbler. You said you had some peach cobbler?
peach cobbler, man. Yeah, yeah. We have a place called Peachtree, and that's what they specialize in.
I have to
So
try that out when I come out that way, man.
yeah.
Don't be stingy. I want a
Every
whole tray of it.
See, I don't mind sharing that now, but I do want to tell you, I have a rule.
Stop
Uh,
lying, Fred.
when it comes
You'll share a little bit, but you definitely gonna
hey,
Fred gonna take a big portion out. He gonna hide it somewhere.
the peach cobbler is cool, but the sweet potato pie, that's my favorite, and it only comes with one fork, so I apologize. So
Okay. I'm gonna hold you to that. We gonna hit that up. But all right, we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the topic right now. So let me pull up the slides. So I'll go ahead and knock this out. So Pain Hustlers. That's the movie we're going to review today. So Pain Hustlers is a 2023 American crime drama film directed by David Yates from a screenplay by Wells Tower, based on the 2022 book of the same name by Evan Hughes. The plot centers on a high school dropout who lands a job with a felon pharmaceutical company in Central Florida, where she soon finds herself at the center of a criminal conspiracy. So, all right, I'll go ahead and jump into the next slide here, the directors and producers slide. So, directed by, it's again David Yates, written by Wells Tower, produced by Lawrence Gray and David Yates. So, David Yates is like doing everything here. Shout
yeah,
out to David. So, going down the, cast for this movie, and it has some pretty solid, I say, actors and actresses in this movie. So, of course, Emily Blunt as Liza Drake, Chris Evans, my man, Captain America as Pete Brenner,
yeah,
Catherine O'Hara as Jackie, and that was Liza's mother. And Amy, that's your girl from Beetlejuice, right? The mom in that movie. I had to look it up, but yeah, she looked totally different in this movie. With the. But yeah, I didn't realize that was her until I started looking up the names and stuff. Of course, my man Andy Garcia, legend, as Dr. Neil, Jay Duplass as Larkin, Brian D.R.C. James as Dr. Lydell, Chloe Coleman as Phoebe, and as Liza's daughter. And she was actually in a couple movies I think we reviewed. I think she was in that, what's the Gunpowder Milkshake? That was the love daughter. And then I think she was also in that other movie, 65, as the girl, his daughter that died. So yeah, she's been in quite a few movies. So she's definitely blowing up. So then we got Aubrey Dollar as Andy, Michael Costa as Guy Schatz, and Nick McNeil as Randy. Then all right, we're gonna go to the main slide, the main thing for us, the movie rating scale. So all right, we'll go to Amazing first. Let me put you at the. What you rate this movie? What was your rating?
I'm gonna go with a 7.5.
All right, Casey Fred. What's your
uh,
rating for this movie?
I actually had it at a 7.8.
Okay. And my rating for this movie, I had it at a 6. So I had it between good and average. So Casey and Amazing had it at very good territory. Hey, y'all want me to go first since I'm the outlier, since y'all the same range?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, the reason I kind of rated it 6, man, I did like the concept of the movie, about like a small pharmaceutical company, trying to like find all the loopholes in the system, to get their product out. So I like that. Definitely like the cast of the movie. I just thought towards the end it was a little too predictable. I think that they kind of mapped out the storyline a little better. So I think it was just too predictable towards the end where it kind of just fell off. You know, she did the typical thing, like she went out there told, and you know, everything just started falling in line. Where I think they should have just kept the plot because it was pretty interesting, like how they were going out, you know, get reining the people in. So I just think like once they kind of got to that point, it's just like it dropped, you know, to the part where she got caught up a little too quick, you know. So I thought it was like a strong storyline in the beginning, but it just kind of like I'll say like fizzled out towards the end of the movie and stuff like that. And I just thought like they had a great concept at first, and then it was just like, you know, it felt like they had to cram it the end and, you know, towards to fit into the regular like movie timeline. So felt a little rushed, you know, just to get to the very end where she just like started kind of feeling bad and telling on everybody, which I thought they would have just played it out or, you know, made it come out a different way versus that whole spin, you know. So that's why I kind of had it at 6. But I'll go ahead and we'll get your rating, well, your background, why you rated it, what you did, Casey Fred.
Yeah, 7.8, and I actually liked it because I'm not for sure how many people actually have seen a movie like this. And I mean, we usually see cause and effects, but we don't see the why. And these were like people that were desperate, and at the beginning, the business was about to fold. You see a mom that's like basically trying to get any job. She doesn't even, only did 2 years of high school. And meets a gentleman, has no idea that's going to change her world at at one of those titty clubs. So it's just, uh, it's just like, and things are spiraling. It's like she's living with her daughter in the garage, of a family member, and it's just like, you know, it's this storyline starts developing. You get caught up into the characters, and you realize it actually has some great people behind it. I enjoyed Chris Evans, who was, our Captain America. So I always enjoyed him and his acting. And then, you meet the guy behind it, who's Andy Garcia, who's Dr. Jack, and he had a great performance too, as the guy that's, the billionaire that's over all of this. And you basically see walk it with the mom and the daughter as they go along in this journey, and you find out, well, what she's doing, why she's doing it. And when you find out, you root for it first, but then you realize, okay, this is just another road that she's going down, and it ends up being really bad for her. Because one thing, when she finds out, she's thinking she's helping people, but the reality, she's hurting more people. She's doing more harm than good. Let's put it like that. And so I actually love the ending, which we'll talk about that too, because one thing, you want to know what happens to these people. I know they try to cram it into 2 hours. I think it was like 2 hours and 4 minutes or something like that. But you could tell the book was way longer than that, and so they just didn't have all the time to tell the whole story. But it was really good, and I gave it a 7.8. I wanted to give it maybe a little bit higher, but like you said before, they try to cram so much information in a short period of time. And but I did like the character development, so that's why I gave it a 7.8.
All right, amazing. Why'd you give it a, what was your rating again?
7.5.
So why'd you give it a 7.5?
I gave it a 7.5 because it was it was really a story based off like it was, I guess I forget what they're called, but it was based off actual events, not specifically, but this does happen. And so I actually didn't realize how many pharmaceutical reps have been imprisoned for it. I looked it up, and I mean, I know it happens, obviously. I didn't realize how often the last several years so many of them have went to prison. So I liked it just because it was based off real events that take place. And I felt like I didn't think it was rushed, only because I thought they really had to explain how it started off as a good thing when you take the drug being meant for cancer patients. And the study was based off of patients that were dying versus what ended up being used for. But I thought it showed a good way of just kind of how the greed took over and how it was meant for good, and it was doing good if they would have stuck to that population of patients it was actually meant for. But it was really, to me, the greed that took everybody down. And it like you guys had mentioned, it was already 2 hours, so I felt like it had to be rushed at the end just so it wouldn't turn into a 3 hour movie.
No, that's a good point. I think that was probably one of the elements I didn't like. I mean, I know it does happen in like different industries, but I think like the pharmaceutical industry kind of gets demonized a lot. And it's just like, happen to I got to work with them in a good capacity, and then a lot of them people, they're like dedicated to like finding cures and stuff. So I think sometimes, I think maybe I was biased where I'm like, nah, I know a lot of them people like are so detached from the greed. It's like a small segment of people where I think sometimes people want to push that message like, oh, the pharmaceutical companies. I'm like, nah, these people definitely want to find these cures. It'd be like a small population that like some bad apples that kind of make everybody else look bad and stuff like that. So that's why I kind of was like, damn, I don't I probably was a little biased on that whole spin, but it does make sense what you're saying. Amazing. Cause yeah, I didn't think about that whole element. Like you said, it's just like, hey, if they probably would have stuck to their like, what the drug was like intended for, instead of those people trying to push it out to like everybody. Cause, then it probably would have been like everybody would have been straight. But like you said, that greed sometimes gets in there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's a good point. But all right, we'll go ahead and jump to the open discussion questions. Let me pull the slides back up. So, all right. Would you recommend this movie to anyone? And I'll kick it off first. I definitely would. I do like the health aspect of it. I like the cast of the movie. So I definitely would recommend it to anybody. All right, Casey, Fred, would you recommend this movie to anyone?
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie, and I definitely would recommend it to anyone. And I was so glad that it was on Netflix because, in this day and time, that way everyone can rewind, slow it down, stop, and do whatever they need to do, but really be engaged.
All right, amazing. Would you recommend this movie to anyone?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think I just think it's good, especially again where it ties into so many people get prescribed things they don't even know what it is, or I just think it's really a good movie for everybody just to get a different aspect. Going back though, I do agree with you. I definitely think majority of um, pharmaceutical reps are in the business for the right reasons, for sure. I just think this did highlight that small portion, that kind of let the greed get the better of them.
All right. So, would you ever watch this movie again? And I'll just start with you, Amazing, since you're already on that one.
Yes.
All right, Casey, Fred, would you watch this movie again?
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I like the cast.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it again because I probably missed some spots, so I always like kind of going back to recap. So yeah, I mean, I definitely liked it. I mean, it was definitely still a very good movie, but like I said, it just missed a couple spots, and we're definitely gonna jump into that. But all right, what did you think about the plot or the storyline? And I'll start with you first, Casey, Fred.
I enjoyed it. I it was interesting. I kind of thought like I kind of compared it to New Jack City because New Jack City, you got drugs, but it's like on the street. And this over here, I almost felt like it was like white collar crime type of thing. And so it's like you might hear about it in the newspaper, but you don't see it that much in movies. And now it's starting to really come out. And then the drugs, as far as um, you kept seeing these prescriptions, and it was amazing how they was treating the doctors like they were God, you know, and everybody would believe them. And then you would see the long line like government cheese, but it was just for drugs. And I'm just like thinking to myself, I mean, drugs are drugs, and if you get addicted, it's really hard to be able to get off of them. And so they were trying to show you that. And then the people that were end up dying from it because they were addicted and they were on it way too long than what they were supposed to, or like Amazing said, they were prescribed, and it had nothing to do with their symptoms, but they were given it anyway, like it was just being forced down their throat. It was good to be able to see that side because um, I remember the statistic that I saw that it's actually prescribed medication is like the one of the third leading causes of death in America right now, being prescribed for something that you really shouldn't be having in your body, and yet all of a sudden you, because you believe in the doctor, and you say, "Oh well, my doctor said so, I got to take it," and so next thing you know, you gone. And so, and that's what was happening. You got a chance to see that side of it too. And so I thought it was really good. It was a great plot. You know, the rise of, like you guys were saying, the pharmaceutical reps, you know, to A, wanting to make a difference, but then greed gets a hold to them, and now they're making all this money. And then all of a sudden, I love how they kept talking about the speed traps, you know. Oh, we're just going 67 on 65. And then the reality was, well, we're really going 70. And when the greed hits, you realize they're going 85, 90 miles an hour, and they're just pushing the metal to the pedal. And it just took over. And then you saw the fall of their company too. Uh, and so I just enjoyed the plot. The storyline was really good. And that's one of the reasons why I would watch it again.
All right. Amazing. What did you think about the plot of the storyline?
I liked it again. I mean, it was based off true events, so I think I thought they did a good job of setting it up. Just because I think it was so much to even put in that 2 hour time frame. So I did like the way they kind of focused on in the beginning of kind of really bringing you into this is what the this is what the purpose of the medication was, and this is kind of how the greed pulled it into another direction. I also like the way it gave background on how there was some successful people already, right? Like the Dr. Jack was in kind of in charge of everything, but it was bringing, it brought in like Liza was a stripper, and it brought in other female reps as well that were really struggling. So these people were going to try to sell this, this drug at all costs because they needed that money to survive. So I like the way it also kind of just that aspect of bringing in people. They didn't necessarily bring in now towards I think the middle when they were expanding. There was like pharmacy students and things like that. But I like the way they kind of just brought in a whole wide variety of people, because you will see in healthcare, especially in that aspect, when for like different reps. A lot of times they're not medical people. They're beautiful people, men and women, and those are the people that market different things, whether it be like devices, medications, or what have you. So I like the way the storyline really, brought in those type of people to do the work.
Oh, I didn't realize all that. So it's pretty accurate how they be like coming around and stuff, marketing stuff like that.
Yeah, some of them. I mean, I can literally remember people like looking at one woman walking around a facility with like stilettos on, and us thinking you're gonna fall in the hallway. But that is, beautiful people market things. So these are a lot of the people they bring in to get everybody's attention.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't realize all that. So it makes sense. So I'll go ahead and tackle it. Like, what did I like about the plot or the storyline? I did like what Amazing was saying. I like the fact that they showcase like the desperation of the people, and I did like that whole spin where it's just like, hey, they got this opportunity. They're gonna take it and run with it because they were all like at their wits end. Especially like the main character. She was like living in her sister's garage, got kicked out of that. So when she started like skyrocketing, I like the fact that she did like bring her mom in and all that. So I did like the whole spin of the character development. So I did also like the storyline because it does have some like similarities to, I guess, what the whole fentanyl type thing, how that kind of got out there. And what's the other pain medication? I know now that like everybody suing kind of some of them companies. So I think it was kind of mirroring what happened out of that. So definitely there's some real life, I say like applications that came from this storyline where they were connecting the pieces. But that I did like how they capture like the different relationships, the people that have played a part in that, and I like how Amazing tied into the whole realistic thing. So I overall like the plot, the storyline. I just think like I mentioned before, the end, and it makes sense, like y'all said. It's just like, hey, there's a lot of going on in there, but I would have loved like what Casey Fred was saying, like something at the end to like show some continuation, and I'll get a little deeper in that once we hit that what would you change part. So, all right, moving to question 4. What scenes or actress performances stuck out to you? And we'll go to Amazing first on that.
I thought everybody did a good job. I really do like. I just think that the daughter's character, I can't think of her name, but I did remember her from the Gunpowder movie, and I just think she's such a cute little actor. Chloe, is that her name? I think in real life it's Chloe. But I thought all of the actors and the performances were good. I really liked, as far as specific scenes, I thought Chloe did a good job at the seizure scenes, and I thought that tied in a lot to, it really showed the mom's desperation. Again, where she's at this point trying to, get all of this money just to have the better surgery from what she thought that was less invasive for her daughter versus the craniotomy. I really thought the scene where it showed the mom bring her car to the hotel and say, I'm here for you, hopefully this will help, and that car did help her with that initial transition. One scene that I noticed that I don't even know why it caught my attention so much, but when she finally decided to bring when Liza decided to bring the daughter to her dad's house because she needed a more stable environment because that's when she was having the seizures more, and she was like, I don't want to go with those evil people. And the mom's like, your dad's not evil. And she's like, yeah, but his wife is. So really, it wasn't even the dad she didn't want to live with. I just thought it was funny that it ended up being, it was the stepmom. But other than that, the other scene that gave me a chuckle was when at first she was mad about her mom, of course, sleeping with Dr. Jack. But then when her mom had the email, she was like so happy. It was like, thank you for being a slut. So I thought that made me chuckle. Now, a scene that I thought was just like really a moving kind of like heart-wrenching scene was when the hotel family that they lived with, when that dad ended up passing away from an overdose, and she brought the blanket back to the family. And the wife just kind of, she was hugging the wife saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But the wife knew that she was part of the medication ring, basically, that killed her husband. And she just kind of stepped away from her and went back into the room at the hotel. So I thought that was a good scene.
All right, Casey, Fred, what scenes or performances stuck out to you?
Well, Amazing. She took a lot of mine, so
Amazing gonna start going last.
Expand on them, Fred.
I kept wanting to jump in like jump rope, you know what I'm saying, and stuff. But yeah, she was taking a bunch of them. I was like, stop. But
sorry, put your hand up.
It was a good movie. Yeah, there was a lot of scenes that stood out. I think the rise and fall of the mom, Liza, when you barely when you first start, you really don't even hardly know her name. And then by the time the middle of the movie comes, they're saying Liza Drake, and they're just like, and it's her clothes change, her face change, her attitude change. And she kept doing these 3 lines of manifestation to saying that she wants more for her life and how she wants to be able to be somebody, and she wants to be able to really do something and be effective, and make sure that her life is not in vain. And I just thought that was really powerful, that she was, and then she was a go-getter. And, um, what's his name, Pete, who played who was Chris Evans, I believe. He saw that in her, and I funny the funny thing about it is it cracked me up when he changed her resume. That was really funny to me. And at the very top, he put PhD, and I didn't know what that meant at first. But then you find out later that P stood for, I believe it was poor, H stood for like homeless, and then D stood for like desperate or something like that. Because what it was is she says, Liza says to him that, hey, we if we're going to get to eastern border, we got to be able to get more recruits. And so that's when they went out and got all these people, and you were like, where are all these people? And then you realize some of them you recognize. uh One in particular, she was right there in the titty bar with her. So I mean, it was just like you were like, okay, I've seen her and stuff. And then the interviews cracked me up because Liza was like, no, and and Pete was like, oh yes, we want you in and stuff. So I think some of it people were, going by beauty instead of just by natural talent. But it was funny how they kept going back and forth. And then I thought it was interesting to be able to hear how the billionaire, uh, how he got started into all of this was through his wife and everything. And then you saw the rise of him. He tells his story and how he couldn't do anything for his wife, but he said, you know what, in her honor. And it was funny because he had a big old picture at his house of her that he kept looking at probably every day. And he was like, hey, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you because I couldn't save you at the time, but I'm doing this in your memory type of thing. And that's how it all began. And so then he found people to be able to help him with that, which of course, all those people had different agendas. One in particular was the Indian guy who he sold his shares and got 32 millions. And you see him, he gets busted because he was trying to get some insurance. So he had a little phone that he was recording conversations. And so they fired him. But they said, yeah, but that was at the moment where he cashed his stock in and got 32 million. And you see him driving away, with his hands up in the air in a stretch limbo, like he got the victory. I'm like, hey, I might have lost the battle, but I won the war because I got 32 million and everything. So I thought that was interesting. And then one in particular thing I thought was interesting is uh, you saw the rise of Liza, and then you saw the fall of Liza, and her conscience would not get her, and the death of people that were close to her, and including the doctor that ended up going to jail and stuff like that, who was her first big fish that got her all started and really changed her world and helped save their company, ends up going to jail. And it just really stuck with her. And you thought at the very end, when they were passing out all the sentences as far as how long people would be in prison, you were rooting for her, but then all of a sudden you see her stand up in court, and it was like she made a confession. I was like, this is not the time to be doing that right now. We're trying to get you off. You cooperated. You helped out the people. And she's like, oh, it's my fault. And I wanted to like tell that lawyer to pull your shirt or something. You know what I mean? Stop doing all this. And the judge still gives her, I believe it was 15 months, and said, hey, your greed costs lives. And that was true. It was really true. And so, they couldn't look beyond that. And so she got the least amount, but she still had to do prison and be without her family and especially her daughter. And so those were things that really stuck out. The love for a mom that would go to any lengths and to be able to travel and to be able to work and do just about anything to be there for her kid. When she finally got money, she paid double on tuition, uh, just to be able to have her in a good school. She was willing to be able to sell stock shares, and I think they said the price for her daughter's surgery that she was supposed to have was like 450, and she was trying to get a loan for that and everything. She was willing to even, be desperate to be able to go up to the billionaire and say, "Hey, is there anything you could do to help out?" And that takes, you got to let go of your pride to be able to go to people like that and be able to ask for money like that. And I thought, wow, that's very impressive, because there's a lot of people that just would not do that. And so those were some of the scenes that really stuck out, really to me in this movie. And I just thought it was really good.
Yeah, I'll say some of the scenes and performances that stuck out. I think overall, I did like her performance, the main characters, where, like you were saying, she had that climax, how she kind of grew from like being broke to kind of being on top and stuff. So I did like how they captured that with her. And I like how they showed like how she was just like blowing money. They got that nice little spot like you mentioned, where she was like playing double on the tuition. So I like how they kind of capture that, because it goes in line with like what Amazing was talking about, how people just get greedy, because it's like they increase their lifestyle so much to the point where it's just like you almost have to keep going along with anything, where because you done like you're keeping up with the Joneses and stuff. So now it's just like, man, your lifestyle is so large where you gotta like kind of go along with the schemes, where if you probably would have like, put some money to the side, you could have got out of that. Like what you found out, be like, oh no, I'm out of here. So I like how they kind of capture that, where a lot of people just get sucked in, because it's like, man, their extreme lifestyle sometimes, to keep it funded, you gotta like double down on these like type of situations and stuff. And I also liked Andy Garcia's. I like his character, because he was kind of like heartless too, where he was like, "Hey man, you got to fire your mom." So he was just like no nonsense in it. I like at the end how he kind of detached himself from, like, he was like, "Look, y'all gotta take this blame for this." Yeah, he was like the typical guy, like, "Nah, I don't know, I have nothing on this. I'm just like the figurehead." So my man was like definitely trying to like separate himself from that. The one scene that I know Amazing touched on it was the one where like the guy did, because she saw him in the line, right, where he was going to get some pills or something. So I mean, I like the scene, but I was like, damn, you could have like did something more, or talked to him, because it was just like right there, and then like when he died, it was just like, damn. So I could feel like I understood why the family was kind of hostile. They're like, you got the nerve to come over here now, like.
Right.
After all this. So yeah, I thought that was definitely a strong scene. And yeah, the one in a courtroom when she was, I'm kind of glad she did get them years though. I thought that was a good ending, because typically like they'll let the person get off like, oh, they told and worked with us, but I was like, I like how they did like actually give her a short sentence, and she kind of started telling on herself. So you could see that she was really feeling that guilt about the whole situation. So yeah, those were pretty much the scenes, and like I said, the performances that stuck out. Yeah, I think Captain America definitely had a good performance in there. I like how he was all wild and stuff, and even that one doctor, I liked how he was just kind of like the critical component, where he was just like so easy to bribe. It was like the two women were like fighting to kind of bribe him and stuff like that. The two attractive women, so it did show like how a lot of people could be influenced by looks and stuff. So it makes sense why they'll send like attractive people to go entice these people and stuff. They come up with like little gift baskets and stuff. So I'm like, damn. But all right, we'll go ahead and we'll jump in. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they do. The only thing like with her, like for lifestyle wise, aside from the cars, I didn't think she was really spending, because
man, you ain't see that place they were staying at? How much they paid for that again?
It was
that was a perk. That was a perk, because that's why Dr. What's his was like, how do you like the apartment? And she was like, we're so grateful, thank you. So she wasn't paying for that. That was a perk of her commission.
Well, she paid for her daughter's tuition. She paid double.
Yeah, she paid for the daughter's tuition, and she paid
for the
double.
cars, and she paid for the clothes, because she did not have none of those clothes.
Yeah,
but I was talking about like lifestyle as far as like the living and stuff. That was something he gave her. She wasn't paying for that. It wasn't like a frivolous. But yeah, the cars for sure. The other thing though also is where and I know we're gonna go to like things you might change, was the when she was, you know, when they basically pressured her to say, hey, you need to try to get him to sell the drug off label, because she was pushing for it to be label, and she was also pushing for the compliance team that they kind of all, you know, like knocked down. But she had even told them at the time, like, I have to tell you, this, and we're trying to get people to, or they're trying to get people to sell or to prescribe off label. But you don't have to. And then that's when the doctor even, you know, showed his greed, and he was like, are you telling me that you know better than my medical opinion? So I do feel like just another focus of the storyline, like throughout the entire movie, it really showed her. It was like she would try to go against it, but she never actually stopped it. You know what I mean? So it was like she would give out those comments like, "Hey, we don't have to do this," and then it was kind of like an excuse. Well, where it could be like, "Well, I tried, but he did it anyways." Before she actually decided to become the whistleblower. So I did like the way that really throughout the whole movie, it showed her doing just little scenes that was kind of saying, no, she, you know, like she was the good person of the good guy in this movie trying to help, but ultimately she didn't do enough.
Yeah, because she was kind of the catalyst to get them popping. She was the one that landed it. So I mean, yeah, I like how they capture that like thin line between being moral and, because it's like you could say certain things, but at the end of the day, a lot of people still go along with it and stuff like that. So yeah, I could kind of see how they got that. One scene I think I left off was, you know, the one family where the lady kind of came in there because she heard her talking to her. She was like, where she finally got him to prescribe it. It's kind of like you could think back on that whole situation, because he was like, what, like losing his faculties off the other medicine, kind of like out of it. And then it's like now this other medicine comes and it like completely messes, it kind of messes him up. So it's sometimes it's like, man, you don't just have a good option at all, you know? So that
Yeah.
I did like that part where how they highlighted that. It was just like, damn, like he had this
But
one option where, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say and I actually missed this because I had actually listened to this for a second time, because the first time I didn't really like pay attention to the whole thing. But that guy actually came back. You know how they would go back and forth to the interview scenes, and he said how great the drug was. Like, it brought my life back, and you know I wanted to be on it sooner. But then he said, but I didn't tell him when my cancer went into remission. Um, So then once again, if he would have just taken it for what it was actually intended for, but he said his cancer went into remission, he didn't tell the doctor and kept complaining about pain until it was able to use it off label again.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. So
Yeah,
what, he kind of just got addicted to it?
Yeah, he got addicted. His cancer went into remission, but he was addicted at that point. And then the doctor started prescribing it off label. And that's when he overdosed.
that's
Oh,
the reason. That's the reason why we had so many long lines. If you guys remember those long lines, and then when the doctor got arrested, and then Liza shows up, they all started acting like crackheads and like, "Hey, you got the drug? You got the drug? Give it to us, woman. Give it to us." And she's like, "No, it don't work like that." And tried to hurry up and get in her car and drive off real fast. But they were just all like walking around like zombies, like they needed their next fix. And that's the reason why it reminded me so much of New Jack City in the sense of this was, instead of street pharmaceuticals, this is something that the doctor prescribed to them, and they treated that doctor like God. Like, he would walk in there with, and that was another thing that cracked me up about this doctor, how money can change you. When we first meet this guy, he don't hardly have no hair on top of his head. He looks like an old doctor. He's smoking, and and he's bent over at his PT Cruiser and stuff like that. But then when the new drug comes in, and next thing you know, he's got all these patients, doubled almost. Now it's just like he comes in there. He don't even look like a doctor. He's got full grown hair. Comes in with a tracksuit. He coming in there. His coffee's all ready for him. He's high fiving people, shaking hands, and kissing babies and all this stuff. And everybody's loving him just because what? Because of this drug that he's basically getting them addicted to. and he himself not even realizing that that was going to be his very downfall. And then greed gets a hold of him because once again, when Liza says, "Hey, we need to push this not just to cancer people but to everyone," he's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. You know how many times I've done this?" And so that's what he does. And then, long and behold, he ends up doing it to an undercover cop, which I thought that was very interesting because I was wondering how he was going to get busted. And sure enough, I mean, boom, cops were already waiting. You heard the alarms outside and stuff. And next thing you know, he's going down. And that was it. You never see, or I don't even think they even said how many years he got, did they?
Yeah,
I ain't catch it.
I forget, but I think they did say. But
Yeah.
the head doctor got the most. I think he was like 5.5 years or something.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
but it
thought,
was still wasn't a ton of time for all of those sentences.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, and just going back, because even like I know at the end they bring up again to like the study because they kept would reference the study, and I believe that the study was like they said like less than 1% addiction rate, which would get really anybody's attention. But again, that's when the doctor was like, "I'm the one who did that study, and we did the study on cancer patients that were dying. So of course they died, so they weren't going to if they
Yeah.
became addicted, they were dying." So, but yeah, I thought that was like just a good little bit on how people will use statistics to their own advantage and maybe not give you the whole story. Because if you just listen to that little piece of the medication, it sounds awesome until unless you realize, yeah, well, of course they didn't become addicted because, or if they did, they all died, so they weren't becoming drug addicts.
Mm, that's a good point. Yeah, because people do be manipulating studies and data and stuff like that. So yeah, that is a good example of that.
the other
But all
thing
right,
I
oh,
really
go
did
ahead.
like was the real doctor they showed at the end that end up he got the 5.5 years in prison, and he had long gray curly hair and stuff with glasses on and
Mm.
everything. I was like,
That's
where was his
That's what
money?
made me Google it because I was like, how often does this happen? Because again, I know it happens, but I didn't realize, there's a lot of them that have had prison time.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was some major ones, like I said, that was like going under and stuff. I mean, there were some big studies. So I mean, it was like loosely based, but so I mean, it does happen, and stuff like that. So yeah, I like how they kind of capture the players and stuff like this, like how the side people kind of impact the industry versus, like I said, a lot of the people that's actually doing like the R&D, trying to, actually help people and stuff like that. So, but all right, we'll go ahead and jump into if you were the director or the producer of this movie, what would you change or do differently? And I'll start with you first on that, Casey Fred.
yeah. I had was really thinking about it, and honestly, um, there's not really much that I would change. The only thing I had thought about was it would have been nice to be able to see after because she did have such a 15 months. It's only like, was that a year and 3 months or something like that. And it would have been nice to see, okay, her get out of prison and be like, okay, and do something positive or something like that. That would have been kind of cool. But all you saw was her just getting ready to get, hauled off to jail and stuff like that. And then she makes some kind of little statement talking about she still dreams, but then she just, like wakes up or opens up a window or something crazy she said. But I was just like, it would have been nice to have a different type of ending. But, the ending we did get was to realize that this was based off of a book and based off of true stories. And, and you saw that, you know, these drugs are addictive, and it's not just the drugs that you get off the street, but it's literally drugs everywhere. If you're not using them appropriately, they can not only be addictive to you but also can take you out. So I just thought that it showed a whole different side that people should really take heed of. And so, but that's the only change I would have made though.
I think I could be wrong, but I thought the when they were at the mom's stand and she was helping the mom do the facial care, I thought that was after she got out of prison.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did have that scene. It was like I don't know if you might have shut it off too fast because it was like a break and then it went on. Because I forgot
really?
about that too. Yeah, I did catch that part. Yeah, because they was all in their mom's skincare, like a few of them.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that part.
So your wish came true.
Yeah, you gotta go back and watch that. I forgot all about
It
that.
was
Yeah,
funny
it did
because
happen.
at the beginning she did have like a little talking about I got an app or whatever, and this is what we gonna do and stuff. But that was when she was poor. I didn't know, you know, they had
Yeah,
a.
they come back to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a you know in the Marvel movies when you got to watch like a little bit into it and then that's how it was because I forgot I did catch that because yeah I was like at the last minute I was watching it so yeah that's right they did show that in.
But
Wow.
since you brought that up, the one actually, this is a scene that stuck out to me because I think the movie was in 2011. Was it based? I thought the year was based out of 2011, and
Yeah, the
I
movie came
thought,
out this year though, but the actual time frame was 2011.
okay, so I was
Mhm.
thinking back to 2011, and had they had that app idea for like the whole skincare, that could have blown up and made them rich if they had had the funds to be. I mean, because if you think back to 2011, we weren't really using apps on our phones like we do now. So I thought that scene did make me think like, man, if y'all would have worked that app out, that could have made you some money back in 2011.
Plus it seemed like in that last scene and stuff they had that confidence like hey we made it in that other one we ain't had no skills so we gonna all work on this you know so I mean that was a promising scene yeah you definitely got to go back and capture that but all right amazing we'll go to you for if you were the director or the producer of this movie what would you change or do differently.
The only thing I think I would have changed was I think Liza was definitely guilty. Not saying that she shouldn't have went to jail at all, but I'm just thinking back to real life. You normally do need a whistleblower to get everybody, and I feel like if the whistleblowers have fear that they're going to jail, they're not gonna tell, and you wouldn't really get the bigger people you want anyways. So I maybe would have said 6 months or time suspended or however they do that. I don't know if I necessarily would have had her do jail time just because without her I don't think I mean who knows what they would have ever found.
Yeah, that was odd because you know, man, there's like mobsters that
Yeah,
shot like 25 people and got off. So the fact that they gave her years, that was like you said, because I mean that's the whole intent to like get people to like talk. So you know, I forgot what they call them, like proffer deals or something like that. Yeah, they typically don't give them years, but I think the add dramatics to the movie, that's why I think they did it. So, but I did like that part though. But yeah, it didn't make no sense because I'd be like, man, I'm about to do some time anyways. We all going down.
well, and considering she got 13 months and the guys that really were doing even a whole lot worse than her, really, if you, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, didn't get a whole lot more time than she did. So,
Yeah, nah, that's facts. But I mean, still, 15 months ain't too bad for what they like. They kind of got off all of them and got off light. So yeah, nah, but that makes sense. But would that be the only change you would make?
yeah, that's it, probably the only change I would make. The other thing, just that I noticed, anyways, is she did all of this right because she was trying to get the cash for the daughter to have the non-invasive neurosurgery, and she ended up having a craniotomy anyway. So I was like, well, that ended up stinking. Like you didn't even get the non-invasive surgery you wanted through the nose. You ended up with craniotomy, and you ended up in jail, and you ended up with all of this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, if I were the director or the producer of the movie, the change I would make would I definitely would have liked to seen the other people like storylines, how they came, if they bounced back. But the major thing I would change was even though she was, you know, gonna be the whistleblower and stuff like that, I would have liked for her to give Chris Evans' character like a heads up, like, hey, look, they coming down. Get your house in order. Let him skate off since he did take that chance on her and brought her in. I would have liked to see her like, you know, be somewhat loyal to him at that point, because I did think like he was looking out for her and stuff like that. So it would have been nice to see him kind of get off and, you know, got fired, got away or something like that. So that would have probably been the only change. And then, like I said, I would have liked to see like the rest of the characters, how they kind of made it out of it. You know, like they did the little clip at the end for her. So close it out a little bit more. So I thought that would have been better. But nah, overall, I did like how it kind of rolled out now. I think I'm definitely going to have to change my score when we get to the last one. So
The one thing with Pete's character though that I also thought was funny, and I just couldn't feel bad for him because I felt like they made his character so extra. I mean, he was like dressed up as I was at a pill or like a nasal spray, whatever he was when he was rapping about himself and saying 3, triple bonuses for this many micrograms. So I kind of felt like, oh, I can't feel sorry for you. Like you're literally giving people their deathbeds right there in your rap song. And the pregnant girlfriend where they said, oh, I thought that was funny too, going back to one scene, is where when she was like, we have to hire my mom, please. And she was like, you can hire Barbie if I can hire my mom. And he was like, okay, you're going to regret it. And then she was like, so are you. And then the mom ends up sleeping with Dr. Jack. And then the girl ends up pregnant.
Yeah, they did capture how reckless everybody was. That's why I did like that component. It was just like remind me of like a fraternity and sorority and stuff at them little parties and stuff. Giving her.
I was glad, amazing, you didn't use the word delusional. So,
oh, she's gonna set us off. What do you mean?
No, because Pete's good looking. He wasn't delusional. Good looking person went with another good looking person. That's
a good point. Yeah, Captain America.
I was thinking about delusional, like, hey, you with a pretty girl, you know you're gonna get her pregnant. That's what I was thinking you was going.
Oh, okay. She's thinking about it now, like, damn, I missed the opportunity. But all right, we'll go ahead and go to the last question. So now that you heard other perspectives, would you change your score or keep it the same? And I'll start with you, Amazing.
I'll keep mine at 7.5.
You said 7.5, you keeping it there? Let me put the scale up. So 7.5. What about you, Casey, Fred?
I think I'm still keeping it at 7.8. I didn't think it was excellent, but it was still a very good movie though.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna move mine up. I'm gonna bump it up. I was at a 6, but I think I'm gonna go up to like a 6.8. Still in a good territory, but yeah, I definitely missed some spots. I'm about to go back and look. So yeah, definitely bought out some solid points. But all right, man. This definitely was a good movie, man. I did like how it did relate to like real life and how they captured that and stuff. And yeah, it's just like what Amazing was kind of breaking down with the whole like medical stuff, how it kind of plays out. I did have to give it some props. That was the how stuff does happen. So it looked like they did their homework somewhat, like capturing that whole element. But all right, man, we'll go ahead and close this out. So we'll go around and give them outros. Casey, Fred, any parting words?
Don't do drugs. That's the only thing. No, it was a good movie, man. I really appreciate watching it. And then, I mean, it was funny the point where they said pain is pain, because it really is pain. But they lived up to the movie where they was pain hustlers, because that's exactly what they were doing. They were just going about it, of course, the wrong way. So you saw white collar crimes at its best. So yeah, you do the crime, you do the time, and that's what it ends up being. So, but it was a good movie overall. I enjoyed it for real. And of course, you can find me on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. So,
right. Amazing. Parting words.
I'll say I agree with Fred. Don't do drugs, but I'll add. But if you do legal drugs, make sure you also look them up so you know what you're taking
That's
too.
a good point.
Because a lot of stuff is prescribed, and I don't think, again, the vast majority of prescribing physicians or practitioners or what have you, I don't think they do things on purpose the vast majority of the time, but I also know that a lot of them do stuff very quickly and maybe don't look at everything else that's going on with you. And you have to take some accountability for yourself and what you're taking. So look up what you're taking and know its risks. And you can find me here on Thursdays.
Yeah, overall, I'll just say definitely a very good movie. You know, health is definitely impacts us all. So it's just like I did like how they had the cancer spin on it because that's just so impactful and stuff. And I think a lot of times like I like how they show like there might not be a great answer to anything because there's just side effects to stuff. So I like how they kind of capture that. So it was definitely had a lot of realistic elements, and then the whole greed spin to it, man, where that was just so believable because it's just like, hey, you got people coming from backgrounds that are struggling. They get some like significance and start getting that taste of like that upper lifestyle. They definitely gonna cut some corners and stuff. So it's just like I like what Amazing was saying. Do some research because you can't always be reliant on what just people tell you. And I think a lot of times I say all guilty of that. It's just like, hey, they said this. Let me just run with it and stuff. So definitely. But all right, you can find us on the Manic Sophistication channel. Check out the other shows. We'll keep doing the movie reviews. People will start coming back, holiday season. But we just wanted to come back, get Fred back on here so he don't eat up all them plates and, the peach cobbler. but all right, we'll see ya. What was that?
I said it's good.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No, I'm just hating on you because I wanted some peach cobbler and stuff. But all right, man, we'll close this out. But thanks again. See y'all later. Peace.